Welcome to my channel. I'm Gary Wiriawan and today is another quick chat video, and in today's video I want to discuss about the best camera settings, especially camera modes for photography. But before we continue, I just want to let you know that I'm using a new microphone, this guy right here on the frame. This is the Shure SM57 dynamic microphone because I'm getting lots of reverbs and echo in this space right now, and no matter what I do, including using deferb plugins, I cannot seem to get rid of those reverb and echo. So I'm using a dynamic microphone and hopefully I can get rid of those things. And please let me know on the comment down below, what do you think of today's video's sound? Now, when it comes to photography, there are some confusions about which camera setting, which camera mode to choose when you are doing photography, especially in the mode dial right here. We have program, aperture priority, shutter priority, and manual mode. Which one should you choose? Many people believe that you should choose the manual mode, the M mode, because it's more professional. You have all of the control of the important camera settings, especially related to exposure, such as shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. But is that true? So today I want to share my preference when it comes to camera modes, camera settings, which one that I like the most and which one is the best in my opinion. Spoiler alert, there's no best setting for your camera. It all depends on the scenario, and hopefully in today's video I'm able to share what I usually do, what are usually my preferences depending on each scenario. So whether you are a beginner photographer or a seasoned photographer, I hope that in this video you'll be able to learn something new and be able to apply it to your own photography. Let me begin by saying that there are two sides when it comes to this kind of camera settings thingy. On one side, you have everything in automatic, and on one side, the other side, you have everything in full manual. My preference usually lies somewhere in the middle, so not everything is manual, but also not everything is automatic. Anyway, let's dive into each of the camera mode setting, program, shutter priority, aperture priority, and full manual. And let me give my thoughts about each of those individual modes. Now let's start with the program mode. And right away I can say that I never shoot in program mode. So in program mode, almost everything is automatic, but you still have the ability to select manual ISO and even to shoot in raw image format. And I think that's nice. However, I still want something to be manual, at least one or two settings, just to keep everything consistent inside the camera. So for my own personal opinion about the program mode, the P mode, I think this is automatic, but for enthusiast photographers. Next, aperture priority. Now, this is my favorite camera setting. I use aperture priority 75% of the time because I'd like to have a control, especially on the aperture of the lens, and not because I want to constantly change the aperture. No, not because of that, but I want to keep it constant almost all the time. Maybe for one day of shooting, I only have about one or two different kinds of aperture values. I never really change the aperture that much, but that consistency is what I'm really looking for, so that the camera doesn't automatically change the aperture, because I want control of the depth of field or that kind of thing. In regards to aperture priority, I almost always use auto ISO when I'm doing run and gun situation photography in aperture priority. However, sometimes, for example, if I'm using tripod or if I'm using a camera body with a really good in-body stabilizer, I will choose my ISO manually and try to get as low as I can for the optimum image quality. In my opinion, I think aperture priority is really great for out and about general photography, for landscape photography, travel photography, or any kind of photography where there are not a whole lot of movement in the frame, so that you can just be really quick and don't have to think too much about the camera settings and still make sure that the camera will be able to capture satisfactory image quality. Next, let's talk about the S mode. So many people will call this shutter priority, but for me personally, I call this my street photography mode. So when it comes to street photography or any kind of action photography, I will usually select the S mode and using auto ISO. That is because I want to select my own shutter speed. I want the shutter speed to be fast enough where I can start to be able to freeze motions and actions inside of the photo. But at the same time, I also want to control the shutter speed not to become too fast in auto ISO, especially because when it's too fast, the camera will start to select ISO values that are way too high. And you all know that with high ISO, usually the image quality will not be as good. For me personally, S mode is also about controlling motion, not just about freezing the motion. If you want to unfreeze the motion or even create motion blur, S mode can be great as well. Just select a shutter speed that is very slow and you'll start to see some motion blur. That will be nice, especially if you have camera body with in-body stabilizer or if you are using tripod. Just beware with the S mode, sometimes the camera will select aperture values that are not optimal. Maybe it is too small that you start to see some dust and speckles inside of the sensor of your camera, or maybe it will be too large that not all of the important objects in your photo will not be in focus. Now the M mode. If I want even greater control, especially when shooting lots of movement like street photography, then I will use full manual mode in conjunction with auto ISO. So what I will do is I will lock the aperture value and lock the shutter speed value and let the camera decide what's the best ISO value for any given kind of exposure situation. That's my preferred method for using the M manual mode. But sometimes I will also choose manual ISO, so completely manual except for the white balance. For some cases, for example, when I'm shooting critical landscape photography, when I have a lot of time to nail in the exposure and making sure that everything is correct in camera so that I don't have to do lots of post-processing work. That's the time when I will shoot in full manual, including manual ISO. Now, some important clarification that I have to make. This might offend some people, but are you ready? So, the first clarification. Shooting in full manual won't make you a great photographer and won't make you better compared to other photographers. But at the same time, shooting in P program mode won't make you into an inferior photographer. So what makes a great photographer? A great photographer is someone who knows when to select the right setting for the right scenario. But even so, camera settings isn't the most important thing in photography. I mean, it is important to some degree, but what's more important in my opinion is your ability to create a nice composition for your photo, your ability to tell a story with your photo, your ability to convey some emotion to make the viewer of your photo feel something in their heart. I think that is more important than choosing PASM, if you know what I mean. So hopefully I'm able to clarify some things about choosing the best camera modes and camera settings for photography, and hopefully this video has been useful. So that is all for today's quick chat. I hope you learned something. Please comment down below what is your favorite camera mode, PAS or M. Let me know in the comment down below. Let's have a little bit of discussion and chat together. Also, if you have any questions, comment down below as well. I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, and subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support my channel even further, consider using the affiliate links on the description below, or use the super thanks button to make a small donation to my channel. Thank you and see you on the next video. Goodbye.